Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is Woke Wednesdays. Tonight's topic is financial literacy. My name is Herson Sanchez. I'm a second-year PhD student here at Florida International University, and I have the pleasure of being just amongst phenomenal people, great human beings who we've been kind of getting to know each other in the past hour or 30 minutes, if you were late. So tonight we're talking about financial literacy. So please just kind of feel free to introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, what you do, where you're from.
Sure. I'll start. My name's Sophia Lightborn. I'm from the Bahamas, live in Fort Lauderdale, and what I do is I help people really improve their personal finances with a focus really on cash flow and credit. You know, my passion is teaching the power of entrepreneurship and, you know, getting your buying power back by, you know, working for yourself. And not just, you know, putting all your eggs in one basket, working for, you know, what we call the man, right?
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. Renee Charles Maurice, good economist, graduated at FIU a couple years ago, studied finance. Financial literacy to me, it means creating a financial foundation across the community. Something that we can all look to and say, okay, this is the base. And you can look at your neighbor and you know that your neighbor's grandkids are set for college.
My name is Shane Coker. I'm a financial coach, originally from Indiana, but work here in Florida now. And so my background in financial literacy, I have a bachelor's in financial counseling and planning, a master's in consumer economics, and I worked in the banking industry for a number of years. And so what I've seen and know as financial literacy and education is basically using education to empower people to make informed financial decisions, so that way at least they know what they're getting into regardless of what we may feel or what society may deem is financial literate. So
Awesome. So y'all answering questions I haven't even asked yet. We didn't go. All right, we're jumping into it. Kit Kat saying, "Hey Sophie, you got fans.
What up?
You got fans."
Business partner of mine too.
Yeah. Kit Kat.
Yeah.
Oh, she's saying hi to Sophie. Oh, so y'all know how to meet your person. All right, cool. So financial literacy. You kind of opened up with, "I'm a hood economist." I'm just kind of curious, like, what does that mean? And real quick, if this is your first time tuning into Woke Wednesdays, please feel free to ask comments, whatever. Pose comments, whatever comments you want to pose. Ask questions, no matter how difficult or controversial they are. We welcome everything. So yeah, what is a hood economist? What do you mean by that?
Well, essentially, after I got out of college, I wanted to be extremely professional. You know, I had like this academia mindset, like you got to be strictly this, professional, this. And what I realized, like, people would rather take humor and open-mindedness versus professionalism. And I tried to be something that I wasn't. I'm from the crib, you feel me? I'm born and raised in Little Haiti, raised on some gang shit, boot gang shit, all that other shit, you know? But what I realized is when I'm speaking to people who really need the information, it's not the wealthy who already speak a certain level of like language. And no, our job is to talk to the people who really need it. The gangbangers at the crib, the niggas that drug money who don't have, like, 30 years old throwing 30 bands at the strip club, but you don't have life insurance. Like, you know, you gotta speak a language where they understand. And I got no problem not being completely correct, because I'm challenging you to better yourself, my nigga. What's up? You know, and that's why I say a hood economist.
I like that.
Like, it's just a different language, but the same information. You feel me?
No, yeah. So do y'all sometimes feel like you also have to kind of change your language up to kind of talk about these things?
yeah, especially coming from academia, they don't teach you how to, and I don't like saying it, but as I was told, like, talk down. I think it's more talking to the common person. And so in academia, it's all about published repairs. You're talking about doing research articles, talking to your colleagues, talking to potential bosses, things like that. But what I kind of learned and kind of forced myself to do was kind of talk to like people that weren't in my field. So one of my professors said that the best way to figure out if you're ready to graduate is if you can explain what you do to a third grader or a fifth grader, depending on, because their mindset is unfortunately the mindset of most people, or at least a lot of people in the U.S. So if you can talk to like a fifth grader about your research and like, okay, I get it, then you're good to go. Like, that was her whole basis. And so kind of using that analogy, I make sure that once I do about like financial literacy or everything like that, I make sure that they understand in terms of I'm talking to like my nephew or something like that. It's kind of like, okay, so this is how a bank account works, or this is how life insurance works, and just kind of make it so like chopped and screwed that
digestible.
Yeah,
Like the KISS concept.
Yeah,
Keep
yeah.
it simple.
It's underrated, but it's
really
works.
underrated.
Yeah.
And for me, it kind of works because I don't have a finance background.
So how is that? Tell us. I want to hear your story.
I mean, for me, it was just, I'm going to keep it 100. Like, I don't have the, I lived in a car, I was homeless story, right? I'm from the Bahamas, and my parents did really well. They were entrepreneurs, and they did well. But I was the only one who kind of stepped out of the nest and moved to the States by myself,
Mm.
and it got real quick. It got really quick, and I realized that I had a job, but I was still broke. And I got sick and tired of that. And I know it may sound like the cliche story, but I really just wanted to figure out that what didn't I know? Because I believe that, God doesn't bless the CEO more than he blessed the janitor. You know what I'm saying? So it was just some information I was missing. And I made that a focus to get that info, apply that. And it's easy for me to kind of share with other people because I don't know the lingo y'all know. Like y'all sitting there, I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, but you break it down in a way where they can understand.
Exactly.
So you're very powerful in what
Exactly.
you do, though.
I appreciate
You're probably
that.
a good
I appreciate
storyteller.
I appreciate that. I mean, I just tell the stories that I've had, and it's been working out.
Yeah, I learned to tell stories too. It's kind of like I tell you about how how having a savings account just can get you from point A to F with little to no struggle. Like that in itself is like, tell me more. And so you basically talk about how to do this or do that, and they ask more questions, which leads to conversation. So I definitely agree that storytelling is more education.
It's relatable, right?
Yeah,
Because if people know you, they like you, they trust you, they listen to you.
Especially if you look like them and they look like you.
Exactly.
So Violet Malcolm was saying, my 8th grade history teacher made us take financial literacy course before we finished her class. She said going into high school means going into life, and she wanted us to be prepared. Mr. Miller 2.0 said, yo, Sophia, man, you got all the things. But you're also coming from an immigrant, so you talked about Bahamas, right? An immigrant perspective. So not only is it kind of translating this type of language that people are learning in the universities, but also like a type of, kind of like a cultural also translation. Right, because you can speak English, but then also you gotta speak your people's English sometimes too.
For sure.
And you kind of also alluded to that. So like, can you talk a little about?
Sure, like, and it was a transition because even though the Bahamas is only about 90 miles from here, from Florida, like you mentioned earlier when we were talking, it is a whole different country. We were a British colony, so it's totally different from America. And a lot of the systems that we have here, we don't have there. Like in the Bahamas, there's no credit. So most people in the Bahamas don't pay bills because there's no repercussion if you don't.
Really?
Like there's no credit system. So
I was gonna go on your credit.
there's no credit. If you just don't pay, you just best hope that Renee don't come look for you. But it's no real repercussion.
So when people go buy something, they buy it off the money that they have.
Right. It's all about what's in the bank and who you know. It's still a small country. You have to realize we only got 300,000 people in the whole country.
Wow.
Right. So if you are connected. And I'm connected to you, and I can get a reference because Shane knows you. I can buy the house. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't teach you a lot of principles that you really need to win. And when I came here, because I went to university here, but I moved here permanently about 5 years ago. So I was a grown ass adult, right? And I did not have the disciplines that I needed to really be successful. So I had to learn. In real life, I had to go from what they call a thin file in your credit score, which means I don't even have a number, to a jacked up credit score immediately. Okay. And now rebuilding that, and just I had to just get around people who could teach me the game. I wish I knew you guys about 5 years ago. So
but would you say it's important to be around people that's gonna
Of course.
Exactly.
Of course.
So talk to us a little bit more about this translating thing, because it seems to be such. So Renee, before the show even started, you were like, why would they want? And by they we mean like kind of
the system, corporate America, the man,
right? Why would they want us to know, especially like impoverished communities, to know this knowledge
about it,
right? So kind of, I think this thing of translating is extremely important because it's probably one of a big barrier. Yeah. Right. So you're talking about from an immigrant perspective, not, and this isn't even including gender, sexual identity, disabilities, veteran status. So kind of talk to us a little bit more about this, about this whole translating. This
Hold up, before you say, I'm not a veteran. I work with veterans. I just want to put it out.
I
don't want any smoke from anybody. I'm not a veteran. I work with veterans. Yeah.
Either way, still thank you for your service. You helped.
As long as we know, I say no smoke. And the next morning, I heard you trying to front on some benefits.
Shane out here fronting.
Trying to get all the 10% off at H&M.
It's hard, but no, that's not me.
That's funny.
No.
Yeah.
But to touch on exactly what you're saying about translating, I believe I say it again because I come from the crib. There's two types of Englishes, you know. You got the English that you speak in college. You got the English that you speak to your professors and your colleagues, and then you got the language you speak with your dogs. You feel me? Like when you playing Fortnite, you playing 2K. You talk a different type of lingo. Now, let me ask you: are both of those still English? But one is actually more respected than the other. Like let's say,
love it. Perspective.
Yeah, that's a very love perspective, right? Because you know we have Jamaicans speak English. They speak patois, just a little broken English, but it's still English nonetheless. Unfortunately, in America, the languages that you speak can be looked down upon. That's why the Spanish culture is so strong, because you can't take away Spanish. You can't take away the language that they use. But at the crib, you can't tell somebody who from the crib and you educate them about finances and you speak in a jargon which they don't understand. If you speak in a corporate jargon to somebody at the crib, they're going to look at you like, bro, you trying to steal from me? You trying to rob me? And you don't understand me. Get away from me. Yeah. But if you speak in their language, like, bro, what the fuck you doing? You throwing 30 bands at the strip club, but your grandkids don't even got a college plan. What is it? Like, your children.
I guess for me, that's a little problematic. It's because like working in the field, you're automatically throwing judgment on them, like saying you should do this, you should do that.
I understand.
Why? Well, no, because I had that mentality too. But it's kind of like you don't know what their
situation.
Yeah, you don't.
That's why we have to find the pain.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. I would never put judgment on someone, but I can see how let's say when I sit down with a client or somebody that doesn't know me, they ask me this: are you from Primerica? Then I'm gonna ask you, why don't you say, am I from Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch or JP Morgan? Why? Because they won't sit down with your broke ass.
Well,
you know? And think about it.
Primerica's they get around. So
they get around.
That's probably more why than Goldman Sachs.
And there's also probably a racial bias too.
Yeah.
Right. But I think this idea of the language, it's so important. Because you said something that if someone comes up to you and they don't look like you and they don't speak like you, you're going to be kind of skeptical of them.
Just a little bit. It's human nature, you know? It's human nature.
Some people
love it. Some people run to it.
Unfortunately, because with clients, one client told me after she like was trusted in me and like provided me, she's like, I've had enough of my people deceiving me. I'd rather go to a white person because at least I can kind of like size up and they may take pity on me, but I guess she's been deceived by people that look like her too, so.
When you say look like you're talking about from a racial standpoint.
Yeah, like she was black, she's Jamaican, but she's black, and so I guess she's doing people that like look like her but didn't have their shit together, and basically took her for a ride, or at least tried to. And she was kind of like, "What are you doing?" Yeah. And so I had to break down that this is the difference between them and me in terms of like our intentions and then like our backgrounds, and so.
So I have a follow-up question to that, and I think everyone can answer because we've seen it, and those experiences do happen. Mm-hmm. But we also see how also the Starbucks experience happens, right? Where it's because you don't look like me, this is going to happen to you, 100%. Right? I definitely know a lot of black entrepreneurs that are like sometimes they feel like I can't let people know, my clients know that I'm a black person because they might not buy from me. That's also
that's so true. That's not a lie.
That's like some real shit, right? That's some real shit. So part of my follow-up question is, when it comes to finances in general, people are just skeptical, as they should be, because you got Prime America out here, you got 1-800 Get Rich, come out at 4 in the morning, right? Like churches are a financial scheme oftentimes. That's some real shit too. Feel free to disagree.
They're the OGs though, in some cases.
Tax-free.
They're the OGs.
Yeah, tax-free. It's crazy why there's a church on every block in the city.
I'm trying to tell you.
But there's no church in the back.
I grew up being a church musician. I grew up in black churches playing piano. I would get $300 every single Sunday, and there's like 8 members in the church.
300. That's a little low.
Not for 8 members.
8 members? All right, fine, 20 members.
I was like
someone
16. Was taking a cut.
I was like 16 years old. The point is that $300 is a lot of fucking money. Period. For a 16-year-old and every single Sunday to show up to play for 2 hours. Yeah. That something is happening.
Something's off.
They're making some bread.
Something is happening. If I'm making this, I wonder what the pastor is. Yeah. Right? The point is that there are financial schemes all over the place.
Sure.
So when it comes to, especially our communities are vulnerable, financially illiterate, as we were kind of talking about before the show. And when I say our communities, I'm not so much saying it in a racial way. I'm saying more like in an economic way. Like because race obviously overlaps with that, but I'm also talking about economics because there are poor Native Americans, poor white people, there are poor Asians, there are a lot of poor people who oftentimes just don't have that literacy.
I wanted to add to what you were saying. And in the classes system, the lower communities, the most impoverished, like, let me ask you all a question. Okay. Is majority of people wealthy or majority of people broke?
Broke,
right? So what happens is, and let me ask you, and when somebody typically gets a check, what's the first place that majority of people deposit it to?
Well, checking account.
They check the bank. The bank.
Oh.
Because that's a cash point. Yeah.
When you get
The cash point cancel, where you go just cash your shit in.
okay.
Don't even deposit it. Just cash it.
That's why I thought you were gonna say. I'm like to check.
No, but there's a whole bunch of them in the crib too. You know?
There's a reason why they're mostly
That's
spent in the
intentional.
hood.
That's
There's
intentional.
a reason for this shit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
this person.
yeah.
Dr. Lovett is on, watching you.
Dr. Lovett.
yeah.
We love you, Dr. Lovett.
So what are some things that people should look out for when it comes to like trusting people? Well, maybe I'm jumping the gun.
No. That's
So
you want to go first?
we should be skeptical of anyone who approaches us regarding finances. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some things that people should kind of look out for? Be like, nah, this dude kind of sketchy.
My main thing, like nothing else, if it is too good to be true, it is, and people don't accept that. It's just like, why would he give you this? Like, he didn't know you. Why would he just have the goodness of his own heart, like tell you can get in on this deal or something like this? You don't know him, but he knows you. He knows you. He knows he can get out of you. And so I'm just like, if it's too good to be true, walk away. Like, don't even.
That's some colonizing shit. Yeah.
But so I'm like,
Approach people.
the thing is, like, the recipe is out there. People are still using this. It's kind of like. But again, it goes into history and education and what they don't teach you as opposed to what they want to teach you. So it's like...
Real quick, I see a lot of people are joining us. If you're just now joining us, tonight's topic is financial literacy, financial education. We have 3 phenomenal people who work in this field, who have this experience, who have the experience with the community. Just kind of talking about this, taking questions. So please feel free to ask whatever question you want, no matter how controversial it is. Please feel free to ask it, pose your comments. So Mr. Millionaire saying not true. I'm thinking it's going to what you were saying about something. Also, and Kate Cat is saying define too good to be true. Whoever would like to take that.
I'll go because sometimes there are good opportunities. Right. You got to be able to define an opportunity and then too good to be true. For me, if something requires no effort, it's too good to be true.
100%.
So I don't know, like it's amazing to me on Instagram. Let's say for example, there's still so many people getting caught up in the turn $100 into $1,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen.
I thought you were gonna say flat tummy tees.
I mean, that too.
That's right. If someone could turn 100 into 1,000, they won't be doing it for you.
Yeah, right.
They wouldn't tell you.
Yeah.
So for me, like, if back to your question of how you kind of red flag, if it requires no effort, then it's BS.
Right.
Everything is a process to everything.
Right.
So if something is telling you that you can skip the process, run. Because I believe that you got to put in work, man. Work is required.
I have a question. Right. So maybe part of the red flagging procedure is it asking, why are you talking to me? It's not just about who are you, but it's like, why did you choose to talk to me? Because most people who are wealthy, people aren't approaching them with, I got this scheme. The wealthy people are approaching financial advisors,
wealthy people.
Right, and other wealthy people. So maybe we should be asking let me get your opinions. Why are you approaching me? Why did you decide on me specifically?
I really think I like that perspective as well, but there are we can say there's financial struggles all across the United States, from the top of our governments down to individual families and anywhere in between. Like, how many people we know right now that's living paycheck to paycheck?
Oh yeah,
it's a problem. It's an epidemic.
Right.
Yeah.
But but there are
how many would you think?
Who are living paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah, maybe most people.
75% of people.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's most of America.
So it's just
75%.
There's 3 problems in our industry that we got to tackle. Like as a financial coach, 3 problems. The first one is a savings problem. We don't save. We spend money, but we don't save. 2016, we bought twice as many Lexuses as white people, but we have half the amount of wealth.
I gotta stop you there. Like,
oh, you talking about Dr. Umar Johnson?
Don't go.
Yeah.
I mean, we can go there.
That was just an example.
We can go there.
Back up.
Let me go to the second problem.
Yeah.
You can agree
Go
that we
ahead.
don't save.
Online. So you said number 1 is savings.
We don't save.
What's number 2?
Number 2 is when you spend more than you save, what you end up in? Debt. That's the biggest problem. The biggest debts in America are student loans, credit cards, and 2016 Limber study. The biggest that turned from business owners to bankruptcies was financial challenges due to changes in health, medical bills. So student loans, credit
student
cards.
loans really number 1.
Yes.
Student loans. What?
That took a long
Trillions.
time ago.
And that's crazy because you only have about 30% of Americans getting a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, but the average student loan debt amount is $30,000.
5% of Americans have a PhD.
Where
But
that?
you're gonna be part of
Where-
that 5%.
No,
On the little toot horn, huh?
No. My point is that for such a little population that's getting these degrees, for this to be the number one source of debt, that's crazy.
But that's the worst trap too, the education
Yeah, of
trap.
course.
Yeah, the education.
You know what?
That's
4
another
years,
conversation.
$100,000 in debt to only get a job that
And
pays you
that's-
I
$40,000.
saw that video I
Come
posted
on,
on
man.
Wednesday.
And that's just the
about-
bachelor's.
That's just the
PhD.
bachelor's.
I know somebody at the PhD that's like 150,000+ in student loans.
How much they making a year?
Can't say too much.
$13 an hour.
It's
Listen.
yeah.
Okay, so what was the number 3?
There's a
Savings. Oh, okay. Savings,
problem.
loans, and medical.
No,
bills.
saving problem, a debt problem, and an income problem.
Income problem.
We're not making enough money.
Yeah.
We have a working class.
But that's nationwide.
I'll
though.
kind
That's
of
nationwide.
Yeah.
I'll piggyback off of that from you.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
I kind of disagree in a sense because it's not really an income problem; it's a cash flow problem.
What is cash flow?
What is-
So, to me, my definition is income is measured in dollars, cash flow is measured in time.
Mm.
So, income
Rewind to that again.
income is measured in dollars,
Okay.
cash flow is measured in time.
Okay.
So when you think about it, especially me coming from a country where minimum wage is still $5 an hour, people are living off of $150 a week.
Mhm.
People make money. We just don't. It doesn't last us long enough.
Mhm.
So if you think about it, you're gonna have a PhD, right? So let's say you're making 100, well, more than that, but 100 grand a year.
One day. Yeah.
You understand how to, control your expenses. So your expenses are 50 grand. Your cash flow is 2 years. I'm making 40 grand a year. I'm living off of 80. So my cash flow is high. I'm negative.
Yeah, you're negative half a year.
So it's not really the income; it's the time.
That's beautiful.
And then you think about
That's
it, people
great
get
perspective.
paid on Friday and they broke by Monday.
Yeah.
Not because they didn't just get 2 grand deposited, it's just because they just did all the wrong
Okay,
stuff
so
with it.
I need to ask some questions because you used a lot of language that
Sorry.
I just didn't understand.
Sorry.
You said if a person who has this degree makes $100,000 a year, right? And you said their cash flow is 2 years. How did you get that number?
Because your
50%.
expenses is only you understand that you should only be living off of 50%. Let's say you're living off of 50% of your
okay.
income.
Okay.
And usually
Okay.
what happens in this country is, let's just I'll use athletes or entertainers.
Mhm.
They make $1 million a year. They got the car, the 2 Maseratis.
Mhm.
Their expenses are $2 million.
Right.
So they still got negative cash flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they
They
got the
still
income,
paycheck to paycheck.
they just hire paid employees. They
So-
just tax more.
Ooh,
I don't know if y'all saw the thing on
Drop that.
Instagram with Cardi B. She went off like, yo, because this is her first time in this kind of money.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Taxes.
yo, they taking 40% of my money. I need receipts, so what you
But
spending it on?
but that uncovers a bigger question as far as, okay, so where are your taxes going? Because they're not going to like the hood.
Oh, they're going to Syria to bomb people.
This is
Yeah,
it.
so, so that
True.
basically
Yeah.
covers more. So I'm glad she said that. So I'm like, it hopefully will inspire people to say, okay, so where's my money going as far as like Social
Hold people
Security and all
accountable.
that? Because there's people that are like on none of the Social Security, but it's like for all the tax we pay, they're damn near with you. And
Yeah.
Social Security is supposed to kind of put you
It's
at a
a
certain
debt,
level.
it's
It's kind of
debt
like,
money.
where's my money going?
So real quick, let me read some of these comments. The diamond butterfly. 78% of full-time workers said they live paycheck to paycheck, up from 75% last year, according to a recent report from Career Builder. Just look it up. It's crazy. Mr. Millionaire 2.0 is saying, how do you change the employee mindset to the entrepreneur mindset?
Whoo! I got that one.
Dr. Lovett is chiming in.
Dr. Lovett, whoever you are, you did a great job with these guys.
Oh, she's a phenomenal
She's a
person.
fucking
She needs to be on the show. Kit Kat saying, how do you fix a cash flow problem?
Spend less than you make.
But even that, we live in capitalism.
We live in a country,
in a world that
United States of
especially
advertising.
look at stuff like why are Jordans? I have a closet full of Jordans.
Why are
like,
they so expensive?
why do I want them?
Why do you want
Why?
that's the
Why?
personal question.
And
Why do you
I
want
tell
them?
myself, yo, you don't like these shoes? These shoes are. Don't spend this.
But
I
that's
think
the
you
problem.
posted something about Jordans. Did you post something about Jordans recently? About something how you can. I think you did about how you can. This is how much it costs for Jordans, but this is how
How
much.
much costs it costs to run a business?
Yeah, run a business. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
think you
you
did.
can-
But
post
that's
it.
the problem, though. I think what really the problem I've seen is that we're passing like societal judgments onto other people about how they spend their money, how they live their life. Like if you like Jordans, as long as you're comfortable doing what you want to do, then that's fine.
They're
Like,
not always that comfortable.
I
think
know where he's
that,
coming from.
But it's just but I know it's just like I always see
people
that
do
like
want
why you have somebody like for example you have grandmama comes to the house saying why do you have this? It's my money. Why do you care? Are you paying my bills? All that stuff. And so that's,
That's
where it
assuming
kind
you
of.
can afford your bills.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're.
But
getting
what
at,
business?
right?
What business of it is it of ours to know what your
It's
financial
not.
business?
It's not. But don't come if the person who is being told that if there's the same person complaining or asking for a handout, then you can reevaluate. Listen, if you're gonna ask me for 50,
but that's
don't buy the
but that's
Jordans.
when it comes to you. That's what I'm saying. As a financial professional, like you have to. You know, you can't judge that person because they're coming for help. So rather than say, wake all those Jordans in your closet.
I'm not saying that. I offer this knowledge about myself. But go ahead.
What I wanted to say was that, one, I think our perspective when it comes to money is upside down. Do you understand? I believe we're taught to glorify money versus understand the money. Yeah, that's why it's so important at the crib where niggas gotta have this Gucci, niggas gotta have the Louis bags, cause I gotta shit on you now, nigga. Cause when you're, yeah, that's the truth. I'm gonna shit on you. The problem is you're taught to glorify, which means that like you thinking about your right now. When your financial home is upside down, you're worried about right now. Like nigga, I need to shit on you now. I ain't worried about these bills right now. You're not worried about 10, 15 years in the long term.
Just wait them out.
You feel me? Don't just wait
I'm
them out.
like, okay, I'm gonna wait right here.
But that's like what they say. If you don't, most people who have that mindset, they don't know where they want to be in 5 years. So it's something I always say. If you don't know where you want to be in 5 years, you there right now.
Exactly. People never plan to fail. They just fail to plan.
So I think also part of capitalism is that capitalism tends to create individuals, right? And I think individuality can sometimes transcend race, class, gender, sexual orientation.
Yeah, of course.
Because at this point, it doesn't matter what you look like. I'm just trying to make my money, right? What matters to me is what the money looks like. So I think cravings about things are really interesting. Like, why is it that I crave this thing in particular, and who has these cravings? It's not everybody who has these types of cravings, right? Because you look at Bill Gates.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the cravings for the Jordans.
For the things.
It's
Asian
not,
people love Jordans.
Okay,
Asian people got
okay. So that's a huge stereotype. And,
it's not. I know a couple that prove that true.
Okay, so a couple. You said Asians. That's a whole fucking.
There's a couple.
Right.
There's a couple
My point is that I think it's important to question why do we tend to glamorize these things, and because there's a root about that, right? Because you said the number one thing is savings. Most people do not make enough money. If they're truly living paycheck to paycheck, they don't make enough money to even save. But then we think about cash flow. I wonder, like, where all this shit kind of intersects.
Okay.
Do y'all understand what I'm saying?
For me, I think it kind of goes back to what Renee said. A lot of the cravings and all of this stuff comes from who you are around. If you are around people who think Jordans are fly, you're going to want Jordans.
100%.
But if I'm around some people who want real estate properties, I'm going to want them too.
Exactly.
So it just all depends on who you kicking it with, really.
Social media also plays a huge factor.
Yeah. And if I want to stop really fast, what you were saying, if your homie's not empowering you to do better, snip him. Cut it. Period. That's it. That's it. If your homie's not challenging you to be the next best version of yourself, cut him.
But you were also saying before the show that sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
And that is true.
So sometimes you may think the home, the crib, the hood, whatever, wants what's best for you, and sometimes they do, but they just don't know what they don't know.
A great book that answered that.
Go ahead.
Principles by Ray Dalio. Wonderful guy, owner of Bridgewater Capital, one of the largest investment firms in the world. If you read that book, you understand how you have to see yourself and the people around you as a machine. Take yourself out the machine and see how it would operate if you wasn't in there. You understand? Like, people don't know is because they have to be radically open-minded and radically concerned with what they don't know. Yeah. If you don't know and you're defensive about it, you're going to put yourself in the hole because your ego going to step in the way. You got to be open-minded to understanding the information that you weren't privy to. Because this financial information just became cool. Like, I walked up to a client, a prospective client like this, a black man, and you know what he did?
Yeah.
Wakanda forever.
Yeah. Like, it's interesting you said it, because I actually went up to this lady I met. I think she's Afro-Latina. She's from Nicaragua. And I found out she was Nika, and I said when you meet someone who's like from your country, you use like some slang, particularly from your country. And I said it to her, and she was like, "How you doing?" I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, I was taken aback. So again, like, not everyone that looks like you is gonna rock with you, type of thing. So I wondered, because Wakanda Forever was cool for like 2 months, but then I've seen a lot of shit that people also do to other people, and it's like, yo, I thought it was kind of forever. Like,
what do you mean,
ago.
like that? Do you mean like other cultures creeping in and using it?
Well, not just that. That sometimes, to me, the point is that let's not put our hopes in people who just look like us, because sometimes the people who just look like us will sell us for somebody else.
You are damn
right.
Feel
free to quote me. Feel free to quote me. I do have a question. I don't know if this is the perfect time to ask this, or maybe let me know if I should ask this later about Bitcoins and about, because it seems to be like a trend that's going on.
Can we wait on that question?
Yeah.
Can we answer Buddy's questions first? He said to take somebody from entrepreneurship to
mindset.
Mindset.
Yes. I'll read it again.
He snapped.
Let me see.
That's the question. That was a great question.
Let's see. How do you change the employee mindset to the entrepreneur mindset? So, really quick, what is an entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur is actually like you ever heard of Robert Kiyosaki, the cash flow quadrant? You know, there's 4 different phases. You have the employee, you have the self-employed, you have the business owner, and then you have the investor. You understand? So the process is like getting somebody from, as an employee, you typically want handouts. You know, handouts. Give me this. Tell me what to do. Tell me this. I got to come in at this time. I'm disengaged. Anything happen to the business? I'm just an employee.
Is that a handout or direction?
No. Actually, employees just tell me what to do. I come in at this time. I can buy your time for whatever amount it is. Entrepreneurs and business owners, make them possible.
I'm twisting your arm here.
Like entrepreneurs, or you have to go from employee to self-employed to have a business where you're generating income for yourself. And as a business owner, you have certain responsibilities that an employee doesn't have. You understand? You have to worry about overhead. You have to worry about markup. You have to worry about the employees. You understand? And to get through that different mindset, you have to understand how to make money for yourself, and then how to develop your team to make money so you're not there and you're collecting residuals. So that's a whole different mindset you got to shift. You got to understand people. Leadership development.
What's a residual?
Residual is like override. Like, think about it this way.
Michael Jackson money.
Yeah, overrides, royalties.
Well, I wouldn't take it that far. I think it's a very simple version of being an entrepreneur. It's kind of like, because actually being an employee helps you figure out what you want to do. So basically just find what you're passionate about, and then learn all about it, and then jumping on that.
Shit, sometimes being unemployed makes you realize.
So I say, I have my own business too, and basically I learned enough about being an employee to kind of figure out what I want to do, and then once I figured I could do it better than the people that are doing it in the field, I just kind of jumped on my own ship and went my own way. Right. So I always even just say, find something you're passionate about. If you are an employee, that's the perfect time to figure it out, because you're just buying your time making a paycheck, but you're also thinking about your own future. And then once you figure out what you want to do, build enough capital, jump on the ship and then sail off. Sure. And slowly do it too. Don't quit your job and then
100%. I recommend nobody to quit their job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My kind of definition of like a job is jobs are for skills. Yeah. Like, you stay on a job just until you kind of learn everything you could from that job. Then it's time to go, because after that you're going to be miserable.
Milk them dry and then
100%.
It's for skills.
Yeah. Job. I always tell this to all the new associates that come into our firm. One, you jump out of bed to be just over broke. You J-O-B to J-O-B. You jump out of bed to be just over broke.
I see what you did.
You see what I did there?
I was trying to look in my head. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. So I don't think we fully answered the question though. Right?
Well, okay.
So an entrepreneur at its most basic level just means someone creating and running their own business.
Well,
at its most basic level.
How to get somebody from
learn about their field. I mean, that's just learning about.
You got to read. First off, you got to read. You got to read. So we can all agree that we have to read.
Yeah.
You have to read. Whatever is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, like tribal leadership, because you have to run operations as a business owner. You have to think like a business owner, not an employee. Employees don't worry about overhead when they come to work. They're like, damn, I got to come in and clock in today. You don't worry about the repercussions. You have consequences that you have to deal with as a business owner. That's a whole different mindset. And that's the hardest part, because as a business owner, you're fighting for your own dreams. Yeah. Employees, you're making somebody else. Like, this is I'm making his dreams come true. I'm driving in my car, I'm making their dreams come true. As a business owner, you're making your dreams come true, you know? Right. And you gotta shift that. You gotta shift that mindset.
Nah, for sure. And like they say, don't quit your job.
Don't quit.
If you're not in a position to quit your job, I
certain
words, I don't care how long I've been in the States. Certain words I can't say. Like I try to, what they call Jamaicans say twang. I try to twang, but I can't. But you gotta work. What is it? You gotta work harder on your dreams than you're doing your job.
Yeah.
And most people do the absolute reverse. They go to work and give it all they got, and then when they go home, they get tired and go watch Netflix.
Yeah, I've also found that some people that say when it might be entrepreneur use that I got a job as an excuse. So it's kind of like, do you really want it?
Yeah. Call them
out. Some people aren't meant to be entrepreneurs, and that's fine. Like, why is that? I said there's more than one way to make money. I mean, I'm not sure if people realize that, but you don't have to be an entrepreneur, because not entrepreneurs make it either. So it's kind of like, find whatever works for you and then follow that path.
90% of businesses fail in the first 3 years.
Yeah, I'm just like, I don't know why people think that being your own boss is going to make you money, because some people are their own bosses and they're where you are. At least you have an employer to give you money. They have to make their own.
Yeah,
so
people
like you don't
need
security, bro.
What's that bar show about failed bars?
Bar rescue.
Bar rescue.
Yeah.
I think one of some great things about that is that he kind of walks you through, like, okay, look at the neighborhood that you're in. How many cars? This guy monitors how many cars go by the shopping center,
Yeah.
and he looks at the demographic, the age, the race, the gender, the sexual orientation, everything to try to make a successful business.
You have to.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you got to read. But as someone who's an educator, not just read, but read with people. I'm huge on that because you can read you can read this book. I read the exact same book, but you have a different perspective on it. So the ability, one of my professors calls it building muscle. The way to kind of build, just kind of bounce ideas out. Yo, I didn't see this on page 26. Oh shit, let me show you this.
Bro,
that,
you know,
that is so important.
So, 100,000% agree with that. You know, that's called. It's called triangulating your thoughts with people that care.
That's mastermind kind
That's
of.
You
called
got
grad
to.
school.
You gotta
Not
triangulate
just
your
grad
thoughts,
school,
bro.
because I think children understand this.
Yeah, but they
At a
force
very-
you to read that shit in grad school.
No, not even that. It's like, yo, like, okay, when I was a kid, you go to the cafeteria, one of my boys didn't have money to get food. Okay, I'm gonna get this food, and then we can just share, split the sandwich right quick.
Yeah, people.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, that, reading a book together is a way of sharing a sandwich, right? Because we're both gonna eat off that.
Sure.
Damn, I'm dropping knowledge.
Yo,
Hey,
you give me
some
food,
more.
man.
Hold me back. Hold me back. Hold me
You
back.
dropping some real
Hold me
food
back.
right now. Hey,
Hold
you
me
get
back.
some good nuggets
Hold me
tonight
back.
on Woke
Hold me
Wednesdays,
back.
y'all.
Hold me back.
Some good nuggets.
But that shit, I think it's so basic, but so real in terms
Yeah.
of so many areas.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, and we go back to it again. It's the people that you hang around. If they're not challenging you, and if they're not pushing you to the next level, drop them. Just like that. I'm sorry, bro. If you're not on this bandwagon for success, fuck you. I'm gone. I'll see you later.
I wouldn't say it like that. But
Well, you got.
But
I
those
gotta
are
go to
tough
this side.
decisions you gotta make.
And yes, please, because this is a tough thing to do.
I gotta go to that side of the school. Like, you stay right here.
I'm going to.
I love you for
I've
this.
done that. I'm like, yeah, I gotta go this way. I'll be right back. I never show up again. It works. I'm not good. I'm like, if I have to confront you, I'm like, look, it is what it is. I'm trying to say you're trying to not hurt your feelings.
Yeah, 100%.
Hashtag bars.
Yeah, if you got any book recommendations, drop them for any
Hey,
entrepreneurs.
feel free. Oh, for entrepreneur, no.
There's too many. I mean,
There's
there's
so
way
many.
too
There's
many.
a lot of books.
I mean, the easiest way I would say is
No
again,
easy.
yeah.
If you do what's easy, life will be hard. If you do what's hard, life will be easy.
But who said that though? Is that right?
I do it. I do it.
Yeah,
if
I'm
you,
like,
if you sit home, jerk off, and watch porn, how hard is your life going to be? That's easy as shit.
Wow.
That's a career in itself too. You can came from that. I'm saying like it's not that hard. I'm just like if enough people if a lot of people, if you got enough people to support you,
Yeah.
then that is entrepreneurship.
No,
Because
for
it's
sure.
not even that difficult. Like people like try and make it this whole big ordeal, but you kill more dreams than you start.
Yeah, no,
If you
for
just make it like it's gonna be hard work, but if you enjoy the work you do, you're passionate with the work you do, then you'll carry yourself the rest of the way. But don't make it so abstract and hard that people can't
So,
grab onto it.
Ray L. Scatter, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, is asking how can people figure out what they love and turn it into a job?
I
Do
mean,
as many things as possible.
ask yourself questions like, what do I like to do? What do I not like to do? Who do I like to hang out? Who do I not like to hang out with? Like, those simple questions will kind of put you on the right path to success. I mean, you said it kind of,
Yeah.
that's the way I would say to people I don't like, but I'm kind of like, what the fuck are you doing for me? Just answer real quick. You can't answer fast enough? Okay, then I know my answer and I peace out. But it's kind of like, ask yourself questions, right? Like, there was one thing we did in school when English class. You basically, like, nonstop writing for 2 minutes. You just write all your thoughts on a piece of paper.
See
You're
what
completely
comes out.
silent. No one talks. You don't listen to anybody else. You isolate yourself. You're just writing on a piece of paper for 2 minutes, like all your thoughts. And then you walk away from the piece of paper for 5 minutes, come back to it and look at what you wrote. You do that enough times, like you do it like once a week, and then kind of, depending on how serious it is, like more than once a week, I guarantee you'll find out what you want to do. Because you think thoughts, but you don't write them down, and so if you don't write them down, but it's going through your head, you're not like actually
There's
thinking
like a
about them.
veil going on.
Yeah.
So I mean, you learn these things in school though, in high school, middle school, like journaling. Journaling helps too. Like just sit down and talk to yourself. Like, what do I want out of life? What do I want to do? What
Who
do
do
I
I
not
wanna
want to
become?
do?
Yeah.
Like those simple questions will put you on the path. Because then from there, once you figure out what you want to do, you start going out and doing investigation. So reading, talking to people that actually are successful in the field you want to go into, all that stuff. It's simple, free. You might even get a good contact or a couple, like, and it works because I've done it. So it's kind of like
No, for sure.
very
That's a piggyback.
simple. Well, it's like it's very simple. I'm like, you can be late. You can kind of be lazy about it. Like just kind of send out a couple of emails to you, writes you back, and then go from
No,
there.
to kind of contradict that a little bit. So sometimes you can end up hating something that you used to love because now it became a job. Right?
Well, that's the difference between passion. Like, what's your passion?
I disagree.
Okay.
Because something you can be extremely passionate about something, but now it becomes a job because let's say you quit your other job, so this becomes your only source of income, and it's like shit. I gotta get up, do this again. So there's also a slippery slope too, right?
I comes with a mindset issue. Like there's a guy named Tim Grover. He's the author of the book called.
All the authors. Go ahead.
I know authors too.
We got Tim Grover. He's the author. He was Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and
Please
Dwayne
feel free to
Wade.
send me like a whole list, and I'll post it tomorrow.
Got you, bro.
Yeah.
He's the coach of LeBron, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Dwayne Wade. His name is Tim Grover. He wrote this book called Relentless. And one of the 13 number one rules about being relentless is number one, you don't have to love the work, you just crave the result. You feel me?
Say that again?
You don't have to love the work, you just crave the result. I don't like working out, I just like looking sexy.
Right.
You know?
Right. So that'll get you through the work.
That's it. You worried about the end result.
That sounds like a job, though. Like you hate the job, but they pay you like tons of money.
They give you the security, but think about it as a business
Security
owner.
is a concept.
Nah, I would disagree with that.
Yeah, that's fake false illusion.
That's more of a job, though. It's like if you're passionate,
It's a mindset. It's a mindset. I'm talking about the relentless mindset. You don't have to crave whatever you're doing. You just have to love the result. Now, if the mindset is I'm at a job, I don't like it, but I'm waiting on a $200 check at the end of the week, then that's gonna be your reality.
Yeah.
But if you're a business owner, like I have to make 250 calls every day, 14 confirmations to get people there, then I don't like doing that. But I know when I see 15 new agents come through, or 15 new policies, or 2 annuities, and I'm making 30, 40 bands in a month, I'm like,
this man out here tell me about his day.
but it puts you in the mindset to keep going.
I think that's some real shit though, because we can apply that to literally to anything. I hate cooking. But I like the end result. That's not food. So I think we can apply that to really just kind of anything. I think that's a great analogy.
Say it again one more time.
So you don't
crave the work, crave the result.
You don't like the work, but you crave the result. Relentless.
Yeah.
Tim Grover.
I just disagree with that because I guess I come from the mindset to where people that I see actually like enjoying what they do, like it's not a burden on them. They love getting up doing what they're doing. So I hear like you don't have to love what you're doing. Like a lot of shit I don't like to do, but I like the result. That to me is not pleasurable. But like doing something that actually like that pulls me instead of me having to push myself. That is what I think that people should be more focused on. So,
are you open to a different perspective?
I mean, not really, because I mean, I've just like in school, we talked about this as far as entrepreneurship. Like you see people like if they truly enjoy what they're passionate about,
So,
you see that in their work and how their drive.
So I would say this that when we say people, right, we're making a generalization, right? Because empirically, and by that I mean like provable wise, like from a quantitative standpoint, it is impossible to poll every single person in the world, right?
No.
To know that information. So we are making an assumption and a generalization.
Can I give a specific example?
Go for it.
The specific example is like think about Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan hands down is the greatest basketball player who ever walked the face of the earth.
That's also debatable.
See, that's I don't know why you said
I'm joking.
But here's the thing.
Go ahead.
The days when he wake up at 4:30 in the morning, do you think he loved doing that?
I mean, I argue he did. I mean, he kept doing it.
But it's the thing. But it put him in a position to get those rings, to get that because he did what nobody else was willing to do. He didn't like it, but he craved the end
I'll be
result.
completely honest. I love Woke Wednesdays, and I love what ends up happening in the space. Like y'all just met and we're creating a great conversation. But there are days I'm just like I don't fucking feel like doing this shit. Like, I'm fucking tired. Like I just had 2 classes. I worked all day.
But that's
but the end result,
right?
The point is that let's not so much focus on the love part when it comes to like getting up to do it. The thing to focus here is on the end result. The point is that you're going to go through things that may not always be enjoyable, but in the end, something great might happen.
Yeah,
it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed.
No, for sure.
But it might happen. And to me, tonight, this is an example of this. I've had a long day. I went to work. I had class. Yada, yada, yada. As we all did shit today. But we end up coming together, and people are learning from this experience. We're learning from it, too.
That
it becomes
matters.
an enjoyable experience.
Appreciate the hospitality too, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I'm all for getting people drunk. So.
Yeah, and I feel like success is different for everyone, right? But I always say that
That was fast.
Success doesn't come at your convenience.
Right.
Success is inconvenient.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
If it was convenient, more people would be successful.
Right.
So it's about doing those things that you don't want to do. That's what counts.
And we're also deeming success in a monetary way.
Right.
Some people can find success without this monetary.
Just
Success
happiness.
is just it's a state of mind, you know.
We keep on getting this question. What is 369 financial transformation? I don't know what that
It
means.
sounds like a scam.
Keep going.
Sounds like a scam.
So
Is that-
we're talking about red flags earlier. This might be one of them.
Is that a scam?
It's not a scam.
I don't know.
It's just it's a concept. But
Oh, it's
it
a
has nothing to
concept.
do with that.
Oh, okay. Hold on, okay. Ray, alright. Ray, I'll scatter. I'm trying to grow regional nonprofit tree planting teams in Alberta, Canada. Okay. Provincial and federal government have given me $100,000 worth of grants. Tree planters are at-risk youth. Make $30 an hour, and I love it. Dream job. Okay, I guess
What?
it's kind of
Great job, bro.
I'm confused about what
It wasn't a question.
It was more
Oh,
of a
it's just
comment.
a
I
comment.
thought it was.
I was like, I'm not
Sorry.
And you messed it out. You're like,
I was missing. I'm like,
So Ashley asked a question. She said earlier, "Do you really crave the results from a 15-hour paycheck though?" And I said, "Maybe the result is survival." And she said, "If your craving is basic survival, are you really living?"
you existed.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Like, it's
Oh, Ashley's a business partner of mine as well.
Okay, great.
Shouts out, Ashley.
Thank you for tuning in tonight. Yeah. Kit Kat saying some people are not motivated by a dream, but their nightmare.
Yes.
Woo.
Yeah.
That's
That's a
frustration
reality too.
or desperation. It was desperation or motivation.
I would say that's more of a driving force than anything else.
Pain,
The
pain
nightmare.
brings more action than pleasure.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And I think it was something I'm probably gonna mess this up, so don't quote me. But it was something I read before with just with Donald Trump before he was the president, right?
So we don't really quote Donald Trump on this show.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
and it was just like in real estate, right? And someone made him an offer for a deal in Vegas, and they were like, "Listen, you can make $20,000 a day in this deal," and he never called back.
You can become president of the United States.
Then they
Yeah.
called him back and said, "Listen, the same
Why you gotta
deal,
do that
but
now?
they said, listen, if you don't do this deal, you're gonna be losing $20,000 a day."
Oh.
Now he took the phone call.
Yeah.
So you see how the pain moves you or motivates us more than pleasure.
100%.
You know?
100%.
So
Yeah.
I think what we're talking about is great and it's amazing, but I think we've kind of shifted a little bit from the foundation of financial literacy, right? I think these are definitely aspects to finances,
Yes.
but getting back to the root, we're trying to have our communities, and our communities can mean whatever it means to you, wherever you are in the world. We have someone tuning in from Canada, like whatever it means to you. So my question is, when we're trying to create our communities, or trying to help them be financially literate, what are some basic ways that we can go about doing this?
One house at a time. It's like the drug game. Very much like the drug game. Why I explain? Because in the drug game, let's say I'm in Little Haiti, but I got somebody on 54th, I got somebody
Real
on...
quick,
you
Little
might
Haiti,
wanna, yeah.
Little Haiti is in Miami. We're coming from Miami, Florida.
Yeah, be
my-
careful about what you talk about too, because someone be watching that might work for the FBI. So.
Man, I'm gonna tell you how it is.
And the FBI is
Financial-
the biggest drug game in the world. What you mean?
Yeah, they don't want any competition either. So I'm saying,
Uh-huh.
they
Facts.
might want to
Go ahead, go
watch.
ahead.
I'm gonna keep it so G and transparent with y'all.
Yeah.
One, it's a distribution channel. Our job is to educate the houses one house at a time. If I'm only educating one house, let's say if I educate one block,
When you
right?
say we, you talking about your firm or just
My
perspective
firm.
that
Financial
you bring?
educators.
Financial educators.
Okay.
You know, people who go around and educate the community. If you educate one house and you're duplicatable enough, you keep it simple that they can educate their neighbors. Now you have two blocks that are financially aware of what's going on. Then neighbors teach another two neighbors. Now the entire block is financially aware. Now, yeah, how I references back to the drug game. In the drug game, I got somebody on 54th, I got somebody on 163rd, I got somebody on Aventura, I got somebody at FIU. Everybody's selling products.
That sounds real specific.
Everybody's selling product, right? And then they bring the product back to home base. We split the bread, everybody eat. But now here's the thing: how do we increase profits? It's either you increase the price of the product or you conquer new territories. You understand? Now, when we conquer new territories, we're not selling cocaine, weed, narcotics, drugs. We're selling financial freedom and generational wealth. Now, that's the thing where recruiting comes in. You recruit, develop, and expand. Conquer territories and educate that block. You want to develop financial professionals in the sense where they understand the basics. This is an army we're doing. We're going against a system that's oppressing people by taking away their ability to have access to education.
So let me take you a step back.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
Right?
So-
Because I think what you're saying is great. But I want to take it back to educating the house.
The one house.
The one house. Let's take it back to the house.
Understand?
Before we can even leave the four walls, what do we have to do to educate our people? And by our people in this case, I'm specifically talking about especially immigrant communities
Right.
that we have a lot of. So that's not only a translation of academic language, but also of English,
Right?
All right.
oftentimes, right? So what do we do? what are some steps, some basic ass steps? Are there organizations in the community that we can contact? Are there people, because from what I understand, firms are not coming out to these poor ass neighborhoods to help us out.
No.
Right?
JP Morgan.
Yeah, I mean,
JP Morgan ain't coming out. Goldman Sachs is no, they wouldn't be gold. Like, so
to keep it really simple.
Yeah.
And again, I guess I come from a community where like we knew they educate us about what education means, what it looks like, all this stuff. So I think that community need to really lean on these educational systems. So not just like the high schools, but the colleges. But colleges also have additional resources to provide to these communities too. With FIU as an example, it's a public university. Why are they not reaching out to communities and doing more as far as that goes? So I think.
Why would they? They're trying to gentrify Sweetwater. It goes back to your
but they get paid by public dollars that we pay, unfortunately. So I mean, but it all goes to. I mean,
they'll build bridges that don't even work.
I was actually afraid driving down here.
Me too. When I was coming here, the first thing I said, sorry, this is off topic.
Where's the bridge?
I was like, where was the bridge?
Yeah,
I was trying to avoid it.
my apartment.
I drove right past that. I made sure I drove straight. I'm like, I'm not gonna even look down that way. Just no shade. But anyway, but I think that leaning on our education is to really kind of that pushback as far as what are you doing for me to kind of help me survive in the world is one thing, but more in depth, having people that are educated that look like us, so that we can kind of build that trust and rapport to have somebody, come to you and just ask them questions and you trust them and not feel they're trying to sell you something. Just really kind of have a conversation. And that's education. That's what the school is supposed to be teaching. Like, that's how they teach teachers, that educate the community. So really kind of having people that look like you that you can trust to talk to them and have them really know what they're talking about, and having that, the credentials, the background to discuss and have, that buy-in, but also pushing back on these systems that educate us to kind of provide that service. And so it's not good enough that you're just in the community. What are you doing for the community as far as that goes? And so it does take some action on our part, but what have we got left to lose?
But that's kind of my point. Like, to say that it takes action on our part is, I agree. But I come from families and households where my grandma's still putting her money in the bed, but she don't trust the
mattress.
The mattress, right? And it's funny because this crosses racial lines. The fact that he said mattress, he knew exactly what I was talking about. It crossed country barriers, right? So this is clearly like we do this in the globe, right? The other part of it is these people, again, like poverty is a systemic thing. People live in poverty because it is a systemic issue, not because they choose to live in poverty, right? So part of it is that people working 2-3 jobs just to try to support their kids. They did everything that they had at their access to. The people who made it is because they were the lucky ones. Like, and I'm not a lucky person, but there was a move. Something happened.
They're in the right place, the right
time. Something happened, but because this is a systemic issue. How do those people then who have 3 jobs, that have the children, are single parents, what do those people do specifically when it comes to being financially literate, trying to save money?
Ask for help.
Right?
No.
Sometimes you don't have the time, you don't have the energy.
And nobody.
And to say that we disagree with that, I think is a very classist perspective, because we might not be living that reality. So what can we do? What do we do? I think we do have a responsibility as educators and as people who have this knowledge. What do we do? Is it on us then?
Yes, it is on us.
Well, I push back at that too. So I'm like, if they don't have any time, then how are we going to get through to them? Like, where do we, where do we show up?
Nobody has time. At the end of the day, like, everybody like a butthole. Everybody doesn't have time. Everybody I expect when I sit down with families, I expect them not to care about nothing that I have to say. Okay. I don't care. In my mind, I'm already thinking that, okay, they don't care what I have to say. They already have their finances in order, or this, and I'm already expecting that. So when I sit down with them, my job is to educate and empower. If I can't empower you to make a financial decision, I didn't earn your business. You understand?
Right.
So the entire process is me educating you on something that you didn't understand before. And if you understand it before, who can we help that doesn't know it?
Let me read some of these comments. People said, you always have time. It's always a choice of prioritizing. I disagree. Nanya Barbosa, who says,
I agree all the time.
It's saying we all have the same time in a day. It's what you prioritize. I think we're speaking from a very certain type of perspective.
I doubt it. What do you mean? I disagree.
So
let me hear this.
So
that boy tilt the head.
Let me get some.
All
right. I have these glasses, right, and they're a certain prescription, so I can only see through the prescription that I've been given. I can only see this, right? However, if I were to be given a different pair of glasses, I would see, with a different prescription, I would see something different.
Right.
Therefore, even though we both have eyes, and even though we both can see, it is a different perspective on something. The interesting part is that whatever I'm looking at seems further or shorter based on the prescription that I have. Right? Though we both have the same eyes.
We both can see.
We both can see. And this isn't even including people who are fortunate enough to even afford glasses.
Or see in general.
Right? Or see in general. Thank you. Right? My point is that there are so many different layers to this shit that to even begin to say that everyone just has the time to prioritize. Everyone chooses what they prioritize. Everyone has the same hours in the day. It's such a different perspective, and I think there's a lack of empathy in that perspective.
I disagree.
Because you're not choosing, or you cannot. That's part of the way privilege works.
But you can choose not to go to work,
We
though.
will critique white people.
Yeah.
Right?
You always have a
For
choice,
saying,
though.
yo, you don't get what I'm going through because you're white.
But they go through their own
But-
bullshit. They
right?
lives.
Yeah.
So the same way we hold white people accountable on some racial shit, we should also hold people accountable who say, hey,
They
you know
choose
what?
to be financially.
They choose to because they have priorities, because they have 24 hours in a day. This is called accountability, and I think accountability can work in two ways.
You damn right.
Or more ways,
You
perhaps.
damn right. I agree with that. Accountability is never fun. It's never fun.
I think you're trying
but
to-
it's very essential to the
I
growth
would
of every
still
entrepreneur.
push back at that because I think you're trying to split it. Just because you can choose. I mean, it's not advantageous for you not to choose to go to work, but you still have that choice. You don't have to get up. You can do whatever you want with your time. Like, no one's forcing you to do it. But I do see your point in terms, like, some people feel they don't have the choice to not miss more work, which is important. I understand that. But at the same time, you can always choose. Like, there's no one saying you can't
Then
do
maybe
something.
we're not using the correct word. Do you have children? I don't have children.
No, I don't.
But I don't have
yeah.
to worry about kids every time I
Yeah.
wake up in the morning. I don't.
Yeah.
If I did, would you still call it a choice? Like, maybe it is a choice, but I think that's a very tricky word.
No,
and
there are
very
dead
dangerous.
No, but
parents
you
out there
still
too.
can-
They have a choice. You can choose to be a good parent or not. That's the thing too. You always have choices. So I think that you're taking away somebody's ability to make decisions based on saying they can't do this, can't do that.
I think it
We
comes
can
down
make it
to-
easier for them to make a better choice, but for them to you say, well, they don't have the choice. That no,
Well,
you can
So
always
maybe
choose.
this is a very American perspective.
Well, let me
I was still
break
saying-
down
I
perspective
was
on
still saying-
on
go
finance.
Go ahead.
Like when it comes to in my business, like when I sit down with clients, like I have to oftentimes inconvenience them for their own good because I care about them.
Right.
You know, I care about you, and I damn well will inconvenience you in order for you to be financially protected. Why? Because you don't understand the benefits until it's time. Do you understand? You don't understand the benefits, like, and God forbid anything were to happen to you in that two-person household. Who's gonna take care of the bills and the kids? Oh, but you didn't have time to plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people never plan to fail; they just fail to plan. And I will inconvenience you to help you plan.
All right, so we're about to get kicked off Instagram. This conversation is very rich. Real quick, I want to read these comments before we get kicked off. Comments which mostly I disagree with. Okay, so
Doesn't matter what you think.
It's Woke Wednesdays.
But this, I think this is a very important conversation.
Yeah,
Because,
right.
Ray is saying it does also depend on intergenerational knowledge. Mr. Millionaire 2.0 is saying life is about choices. Kit Kat saying people have time to watch you on IG Live, time to see what Cardi B and Kim Kardashian is doing.
Yeah, talking about time. Everybody has a choice.
That presupposes that people don't have a phone. Kat is saying, Kat V. Faustin is saying, all you have is now, and you choose what to do. Be simple or be great. I think that just means systemic oppression. Mr. Millionaire 2.0 is saying, and you can choose what you want. What did I miss? Dynamic. You missed a whole lot.
You missed a
lot.
whole lot.
Alright, so
See you
we're
later.
about to end it, and then we're going to restart it.
Hop right back on.
So our guests are coming right back, so please feel free to tune in.
Woo!
See you soon.
Hey man, that was a wonderful conversation, guys.